M&M quiz 2042, tossed straight up, time. Physics can help you to predict vertical motion. A ball tossed straight up rises to 2 meters. What is the time to reach the maximum height? Ignore air resistance. Assume very close to the surface of the earth. Is it A, 0.261 seconds? Is it B, 1.565 seconds? Or is it C, 0.6389 seconds? Let's define positive x as to the right and positive y as vertically up. Here is your point A and here is your point B. Point B is at the maximum height. Between point A and point B, what is the distance? 2 meters. Point A is the origin. So when you go vertically up above point A, it becomes positive 2. Displacement becomes positive 2. So delta y, displacement along the vertical, is positive 2, and which is the same as 2. Your initial velocity along the vertical, we don't know. Your final velocity along the vertical, and that is equal to 0 at point B. The acceleration along the vertical, and that is negative 9.8 meters per second per second. So it is negative 9.8. So here is our plan. Our plan is first get V initial. And once we get V initial, go back to the definition of acceleration, and that is change of velocity divided by time. And once you have initial velocity, final velocity, and acceleration, which is negative 9.8, we can solve for time. How do we solve for the initial velocity? So you go back to V final y squared is equal to V initial y squared plus 2 times acceleration along the vertical times delta y. And that is the same as V squared is equal to V initial squared plus 2a delta y. This is 0. V initial squared, we don't know. 2 times acceleration along the vertical is negative 9.8. Delta y is 2. So we get 0 squared is equal to V initial squared minus 4 times 9.8, which is 39.2. So we get V initial squared. Don't forget, 0 squared is just 0, right? So take 39.2 to the other side and you get V initial squared is equal to 39.2. Square of the speed is 39.2. So what can you say about the speed itself? It can be either positive square root of 39.2 or negative square root of 39.2. Square root of 39.2 is, so it is either positive 6.261 or negative 6.261. Because when you square 6.261, that is the same as square of negative 6.261, because the negative sign disappears. But we know something else. What is it that we know? We know that we threw this object vertically up at point A. The velocity has to be positive because we define positive x as to the right and positive y as vertically up. So for that reason, we choose the positive solution for the initial velocity along the vertical at point A. Once you have V initial is 6.261, then you go back to acceleration is equal to V final minus V initial divided by time. So negative 9.8 is equal to V final, which is 0. What is V initial? 6.261 divided by time. So what is time? It is negative 6.261 divided by negative 9.8. Negative divided by negative is positive. So what do we get? 0. So you get t is equal to, I will write it here, okay? 0.6389 seconds. So This is what I did. What is the initial velocity? We don't know. So we solve for that. We know the final velocity, 0. We know delta y, 2. We know the acceleration along the vertical, negative 9.8. So go back to v final squared is equal to v initial squared plus 2 times acceleration times delta y. Acceleration is g, negative 9.8, and delta y is h, and that is 2. So negative 9.8, 2, and then you have the other 2, and you get 6.261. What is the magnitude? 6.261. What is the unit? Meters per second. What is the direction? Positive y. Positive y. So once you have the initial velocity, final velocity, acceleration, we can always solve for the time. Initial velocity is 6.261. It is pointing up. Final velocity at the maximum height, 0. What is delta y? Positive 2. What is the acceleration along the vertical? Negative 9.8. You substitute all those numbers into acceleration is equal to change of velocity divided by time. Change of velocity is final minus initial divided by time. So acceleration is equal to change of velocity divided by time. So what is time? Change of velocity divided by acceleration. Final is 0. Initial is 6.261. Acceleration is negative 9.8. Change of velocity divided by acceleration, that is 0.6389 seconds. What is the unit? Seconds. What is the magnitude? 0.6389 seconds. And this is George Mathew signing off for both myself and my dad. Good luck.